Hey everybody, it's Hunter Bowling here, back with number 6 episode of HB's Housing Huddle. I've got the awesome band Codey Lowe. How are you, man?
Doing good, man. How about you?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Hey,
Appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me.
absolutely. Well, if you don't know Codey Lowe, you need to get and start following him on social media. So check the descriptions below. This guy's crushing it. And if you are a big football fan or college football fan, this is your guy because you played safety. Is that right?
No,
What'd you play?
linebacker.
Linebacker. Oh,
Yeah.
linebacker. Okay,
Yeah.
it's linebacker at Duke University.
Yes.
So pretty cool. Tell me about that experience. I gotta know.
Yeah. So not exactly a powerhouse as far as football goes. Basketball, obviously, everybody knows. So when I tell people that, obviously everybody in Texas, OU,
Right.
A&M, Texas Tech, wherever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, Duke. They're like, they have a football team. I'm like, yeah, they do. I know. It's a running joke all the time.
Hey, that's okay.
It was awesome. I mean, being a Texas kid growing up here, playing in Houston, had the opportunity to, you know, get some looks. Had a handful, more than a handful of offers,
Yeah.
and kind of came down to a few. And I think for me, it was one of those things where I wanted to get out of the state of Texas. I just wanted to go see a different part of the world. So I thought, why not the Carolinas? And so
Understandable. It's beautiful out there.
it's the best. Like
Yeah.
I always tell people, if I retire, that's where I'm probably going.
I don't blame you.
But so I went out there and had probably one of the best times of my life. I redshirted, so those 5 years were amazing. School was hard, but my still best friends with about 30 of the guys I played with, and I'm 40 now, so that's a lifelong
That's
relationship and
lifelong, yeah.
friendship. So loved it, and then obviously aspirations of the NFL didn't pan out, so I was like, well, I got to figure out what I'm going to do, and that was kind of the end of the career, and ended up moving back to Texas. But
Yeah.
as far as Duke and just that whole experience, I would never trade it for the world. I mean, you talk about one of the greatest schools, in my opinion, but also just a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, and just a beautiful, beautiful place.
No, I mean, I see your shares like on social media of like all the new jerseys. Like,
Yeah.
those new jerseys they have coming out. Does it make you a little jealous not wearing it now?
I feel like I was about 6 years behind where I should have been playing, because like we did the locker room. We have, just like when Oregon came out with all the different
Oh
combinations.
yeah.
Now every school does it. I love when we do the all blacks and the blue and black and all the
Yeah.
different combinations. We had like 4 combinations when I was there, and we're talking 2006 was my last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I missed out on that. But yeah, I mean, it's for me, when I share it, I'm very proud of those guys. I'm very proud of what they do,
As you
and
should
I just feel like that's part of who I am. So I love sharing it and just kind of putting it out there. Everybody thinks it's nuts, but
No, I mean, because I played college baseball at Dallas Baptist,
Yeah.
and I was like, but it creates that culture, it creates that competitiveness, the drive. I think is what
Yep.
sets people apart. And then now you being in real estate, and you and I just kind of catching up a little bit, you see the drive in a lot of
Mhm.
aspects. And I hate to say it, but unfortunately, a lot of people within the industry and overall are missing that. And when times get tough, or times aren't easy,
Right.
it's like, what are you gonna do? You can
Yeah.
sink or swim.
Right.
And so, like I told my wife, I was like, let's just rent a boat. Let's just get through this, little
Yeah.
patch, and here we
Mhm.
go. So, man, I think that's awesome. And I think that's where, for any viewer that's out there, what I want you to hear from Codey is that he's bringing certain things that he's learned throughout his aspects of life and then implemented in your business now. So, one of the things that you and I talked about in the sense of what's made you so successful, because you're a pretty high producer.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about some of the goals that you had set in the past and how you achieved those goals. Like let's say the last 2 or 3 years.
So for me, goal setting is a very strange thing, because one, you want to set some that are those outreach goals that are down the road,
Mhm.
and then just those day to days and those kind of mid range. For me, it was, I just want to be a top producer. I'm not saying I got to be the number one guy. I would love to do that,
Right.
but for what I want to do, and just my career is just, am I trustworthy and hardworking with my clients?
Yep.
Am I always available? Am I there when they need me? Am I there to provide value to them? Those are my main goals on a day-to-day basis. Yes, do I have certain production goals? Do I have certain unit goals that I want to meet every year? Of course.
Right.
Now, certain things I can dictate as far as the market and things like that, but nothing can stop me from waking up even when it's a bad market or a bad day or a bad week.
Yep.
What can I do to get a little bit better today? And it's just little baby steps. Did I get this done, or did I knock this out, or did I make the 5 calls I didn't want to make today, or did I? If those things, just you keep stacking wins, is what I call it. If you can keep stacking wins, you look back 60, 90 days from where you were, I think you're doing pretty good.
I mean, I totally agree with you, and I think that's where it's setting the foundation. You have to have that to be able to build up,
Right.
and the wider you go, the higher you can. I
Correct.
think that's the big piece where a lot of the agents, especially that are listening, are going, "How do I build the
Right.
foundation?" So for you, it's say Codey Lowe Realty Group, right? Is what
Mhm.
it says. Okay, so for you, like everyone has like their motto or their foundation. What do you build that off of for your business? What are like the four topics or ideas?
The 4
Or
topics
you
are
don't even
really
have to do 4, but just a couple.
yeah,
Like, what did you do to lay that foundation?
it was just some of it's just being for me, it's being accessible, being I think being a wealth of knowledge, educating people, whether it's your clients, whether it's other agents. I think just a work ethic that is just a drive. And at times, I'm not saying I had bad work ethic, but not knowing and not asking for help,
Yeah.
I feel like I would kind of have that, you know, paralysis by analysis, feel like I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything. And you just kind of freeze, and then the world keeps passing you by.
Yeah.
So for me, it's an education. For me, it's just continuing to learn, hard work. And then this is kind of the one that is taboo is I don't really have boundaries.
Mm.
So when it comes to, hey, can you get a hold of me at 10 o'clock at night? Sure, you can. Is it my favorite thing? No, but I'm
Yeah.
probably going to respond. I'm
Right,
probably going to
right.
say, because I think we were discussing a little bit earlier is before we hopped on is it's I love real estate. It's a very, very hard industry. It's
Mhm.
super sat, especially in DFW and especially in Texas, very saturated with agents. How are you setting yourself apart?
Yes.
And I understand if you've been doing this for 20 years, you have a book of business that you've been using, you've got your network, you got your SOI, all that good stuff. But for anybody that's in that 1 to 5, 6 years that are trying to grow something, you got to find something that's going to set you above or different or make you, kind of set yourself apart from everybody.
Yep.
And for me, as I'm still trying to grow, because I'm very new to this game still, is yeah, get a hold of me, call me, email me, do whatever, and I'll respond. And at the end of the day, when we close and we're at the closing table or ask for a testimonial, they go, he was always there when I needed something and he was responsive. He was there to help. And even if you didn't know,
Yeah.
he can go find the answer and get it to you pretty quick.
That is what is so important because I mean, over the last 5 episodes that we've had, we've kind of had everybody from different aspects. Like, we try to bring in different ideas, viewpoints, areas, which is a big one. Like you said, it's
Right.
a very saturated market, and one of the things that even what we deal with currently in the neighborhood that I live in now is, there are homes that sit,
Mhm.
and you and I being in the industry, you hear a lot of the names or see the name.
Sure.
And when I start seeing that home hit 60,
Mhm.
90, 100 days in the market, it almost makes me want to knock on the door to be like, listen, it really does come down to the agent,
Yep.
marketing, past client database.
Mhm.
What's your current database? Who are you with now? What are your friendships around me? Because like you and I were just talking, we have a handful or multiple friends that we know within this
Right.
industry, and y'all aren't even at the same company.
Right.
So that's the piece where like I agree with you. What are your thoughts on as an agent? Because like you said, you're big in coaching agents.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on agents niching down? We've talked about this in the past, but what are your thoughts on it? What do you recommend?
When you say niching down, like finding their little pocket of this is what I'm good at. Like
Yeah, yeah, and
I
sometimes like that buyer seller,
right, being a
like
buyer
area.
agent,
Yeah,
I would for first time agents do everything, learn everything, and I'll tell you why. Like beat, and I still do it because yes, I could focus on one area and be like, oh, Trophy Club is my spot or South Lake's my spot.
right.
A month and a half ago, I just had a listing that I just sold in Greenville, Texas. But for me, it's you're helping someone, either move or buy. You're doing something. You're being of service to somebody else.
Absolutely.
So I'll drive, from Weatherford to Greenville to go do that if I need to. So my advice would be, we drive for a living. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the way I look at it. Like if you're complaining about, oh, I've got to go to Frisco from here, you're in the wrong industry.
Yeah,
Like be and don't be the person like, well, I don't take anything under 500 grand. If you don't want it, give it to me. I'll take it all day.
I mean,
Do
100%.
I want to get a sale? Do I want to make a commission? Absolutely. I'm trying to build a relationship.
Hmm.
And they might know somebody that wants to sell a $4 million home, or they might know
Yep,
somebody that's moving from out of state that's going to buy not only their residence, but buy 3 investment properties.
totally.
I think you got to look at it like keep an open mind and really check your ego at the door. Like
Yeah,
just check it because in your first 5 years, it's going to be a grind.
Yep.
And if you can grind that out, because this is one of the only industries to me where, like, yes, you need a lot of luck, you need some things to bounce your way, you need some things to happen, and they will. But this is one of the only industries where hard work pays off.
Yeah.
It just does. It's not like right place, right time, maybe. But if you keep grinding it out day to day and you're stacking wins, as I said, there's nothing that's going to stop you from eventually kind of breaking through that wall.
Yeah.
And that's my one advice is I love everybody goes, oh, I watched Selling Sunset or Million Dollar Listing. And
Yeah.
if you watch those, great. If you ever get to a point in your career where that's what you're doing, fantastic. Like
Totally.
more power to you.
Yeah.
But like I've never seen one of those people carry around a contract or comps or anything. They're holding beautiful open houses and
Mhm.
it's part of the show and all that stuff. But the behind the scenes stuff, the grind of it, that's not what that is.
I
So
totally agree. And I think that's what's fun. If
yeah,
I'm being honest with you,
yeah,
like that might be nerdy,
right.
but I love it
Yeah.
because now you're getting to the nitty gritty.
Mhm.
I mean, I have a client right now, which I don't recommend this to anybody that doesn't have a buyer's agent. And it's hard. It's very hard on the mortgage side. I'm like, because you got to deal with everybody. I can't negotiate certain
Right.
things. So if you are a buyer, for the love of God, hire the agent,
Yep.
and don't let anything from the settlements,
Mhm.
scare you off the whole 9 yards. So we're hashing that out now. But I talked to 4 different agents and then builders last week, and they're all, I mean, right now they're in this dire need of needing to get rid of homes.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I believe that I want to dig in with you is this was a luxury buyer. For the luxury market and
Mhm.
for the agents that are wanting to maybe tap into that market,
Mhm.
my opinion, 500,000 is a very nice home
I'll
now.
take it all
Especially
day.
now, California might be a different story, but Texas, here in Texas,
Yeah,
that's a beautiful home.
absolutely.
I mean, like you said, you touched on earlier, relationships is
Mhm.
key. So how do optimize that opportunity with this database?
It's I don't know if it's not reinventing the wheel by any means. So a lot of people they do, oh, I'll send out mailers, monthly, quarterly, or I'll do little door hangers or something like that, or I'll do pop buys. And a lot of that stuff works, and I'm never going to bash on that because I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, how can I put the marketing like back into my hands where I control exactly who I'm meeting, what I'm doing, where I'm going.
Hmm.
So what I do, I go to networking events. I join as a social member. I cannot afford the golf membership here. I join like Tiburon Country Club in
Oh,
South
love
Lake,
it. Oh my
and it's just a
goodness.
matter of getting it. Like, how do I put myself in front of people as opposed to,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to send this postcard out, and if you ever get them in the mail, I do. They go from here, boom, right into the trash most of the time.
Yeah.
So like I why waste my money on that when I know if I get in front of somebody, I can at least talk to them, whether we talk about real estate or not. Don't care. But I'm building a connection. I'm meeting someone. Hey, oh, like, I just became a member here. Or, oh yeah, how do you like it up here? How long have you been here? Where do you live?
Yeah.
You just get to know people. And over time, if you consistently do that and show up to whatever event it is, whether it's your community, community event, your HOA throws stuff every week,
Hmm.
whatever, or every month, whatever it might be, like get yourself out there. So my whole goal was forget all the paper stuff, forget mailing things. Let me get in front of the people and start marketing that way. And and I was telling you earlier, it's starting to take shape out in this area just
Hmm.
because I've only been living out here for about 8 months or so.
Okay. Oh
But it's
yeah,
just
because you were the north
I was
side of
over in
Dallas. Yep.
Frisco and Prosper, Salina, that whole
Yep.
area, and I love that area. But I think this is and I kind of like being in the middle of everything where I can get to Fort Worth if I need to,
Yep.
I can get back to Frisco in 30 minutes if I need to. But just being in front of people, talking to people is my best marketing advice and it works for me.
Well, that's the whole job. I
Yeah.
mean, you're not every personality will fit with the right
Mhm.
client. I'm not the right client or right loan officer for every client. I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with that. But at the same time, is if you show that you care
Yeah.
and you show that you have the relationship, maybe it's not you, but it's someone that you know that you trust, and you've built that referral network.
Well, and the other piece of that is we talk about a luxury market or a luxury client, I think a lot of people I've met agents and newer ones for the most part that a home over $1 million or a home over 1.5 or 2 million, it scares them. And
Mhm.
I get it because it's such a high price point. There's such a lot on the line as far as a commission and as far as like you want to make sure you do your very best for them because it's such an expensive home.
Yep.
If you sit down and talk to these people and you need to there's a certain white glove care that you take with those type of clients as far as a listing goes. There's some extra steps and extra things you do
Yeah.
to make them feel like they're a luxury client, but at the end of the day they're still people. They still talk about the same things. We still go cut it up at the bar or
Yep.
whatever, and we talk about sports or We try to stay away from politics as much as possible with people.
Right,
Who
right.
knows what's going on there? But it's one of those things where they have everyday lives too, and you can relate to that. And as long as you're relatable in some form or fashion, they're gonna like you.
Yeah,
And I think I know it can be scary at first because you kind of like, what if I mess up this $2 million deal?
right.
Okay, and you might, but it's a learning experience. You'll
It
be
is.
better for the next one, and you just hope you those keep on coming, and you can kind of just keep diving in and learn more as you go. But don't be afraid of those clients. You might treat them a little bit differently in the sense of how you sell their home, but you don't treat them differently as human beings. And
Exactly.
that's the biggest thing we get to is like, I treat someone who's selling a $200,000 home the same way as a $20 million home.
Right.
They're people, they're great people. They might be selling something different, but they're still the same human being.
Yeah, and they all have the same needs and wants.
Correct.
I mean, it might be a different home, but overall they
Yeah.
want to be treated the same. They want to be respected. They want to feel valued,
Right.
right? They want to feel heard. I think that's the other big one
Yep.
is just they want to
Yeah.
feel heard that you're bringing what they're looking for
Yeah.
to life. And I mean, I agree with you, and I think that's also where a lot of the agents that have come on is finding the right home, right? You get nervous at
Mhm.
certain things that might that might be assigned to you as an agent that you're not at the right place with the community around you. So I know you've been with a couple different places. I know
Mhm.
you've found certain fits and what for you, what are you looking for within a sense of as a brokerage that can help you be successful?
So there's always a few things that I'm always looking for, and one, obviously, do they have a good culture and community about them?
Hmm.
Do I feel like I'm home, or do I feel like if I do go into the office, am I kind of stepping on eggshells trying to figure out, oh, who do I talk to,
Yeah.
or I don't know who to
The
talk to, or
selling sunset,
yeah,
literally.
you're kind of like, hi, like,
Yeah.
there's that. Obviously, their systems and kind of how they operate. And then, yes, I do look at marketing as a big deal. Um, and then I think for me and where I'm at now is how do I kind of, I guess, for lack of a better term, put my own touch on it? Like, what am I doing
Right.
to help not only grow my business, but helping someone else grow theirs?
Totally.
And so that's, we talked earlier, I've been at Monument, then went to App Properties, Christie's International, and then just recently went back to Monument. And Christie's is a phenomenal brokerage, phenomenal.
And
Like,
Jerry's
Jerry's the
awesome.
man.
Oh, I
Like,
love him.
the group in Fort Worth, who I got to know really well, they're amazing people. I have no qualms, nothing like that. I think for me is when I was at Monument, I was a recruiter, coach, mentor.
Yeah.
And when I left, I thought I was okay giving that up
Hmm.
and just focusing on production. And I was there for 6 months, and I started to feel like, hey, I think I'm missing that piece because for whatever reason, whether it's when I was being a part of a team, whether it's football or in other aspects of my life, I enjoyed helping people and being there for someone if they needed help and kind of watching their successes as much as watching my own.
Totally.
You almost get a bigger like rush when you see someone else
Yeah.
that have like kind of struggled but made it, and they're closing deals and they're making stuff happen, and kind of all the pieces of the puzzle are coming
It's a boost of
together.
ego.
And it's
It
like,
it feels good.
oh well, I was there to answer this question or help with that, or
Yeah.
they leaned on me for advice or support, and I'm like, that's great, let's do that.
Yeah.
So that's really why I went back to Monument.
Totally
And
fair.
so, yeah, back to everybody's like, "Oh, you're home." Like, "Oh, no, I'm back to a brokerage that fits what I want to do with my career."
Which is so important.
Yep.
And even on the mortgage side, being at the right brokerage, it's
Yep.
like find the right
Yep.
community, find the right this. And I was the same way. I actually just gave up the coaching, recruiting,
Yeah.
mentoring piece 4 months ago, and I'm like, okay. But I think on our end was, you have to. We were helping change lives within all of the dozens of loan officers that were on my team. But now it's more a sense of how can I help the agents
Right.
help more clients do that,
Right.
right? Which we were already doing a great job of before, but it's like, how do we 2 and 3x that? Not for our personal gain, but how can we actually bring value back to the agent?
Right.
Because you guys are the ones in the community nonstop.
Mhm.
Like we try to be, but y'all are nonstop, as you should be,
Mhm.
because that is, I mean, that's what Texas real estate's based off of.
That's right.
I mean, you know what I mean? So I think that is where, that's I'm excited that you're on and talking about those things because the people need to hear it and you have to be reminded of it.
There's days where I don't want to do this sometimes, and it sucks, and I want to. Oh, why did I get into this industry? And there might be weeks where it's like that, but at the same time, it's like, okay, this is where we're at. If you need a day to like take a self day to just figure it out, or hey, today's not the day and you don't have showings and you don't have anything where you need to be,
Yeah.
take that day, please. Because if you try to grind it out and you're going to either one, burn yourself out, but two, like you need a reset every now and again. Like
Oh,
it's
totally.
okay.
Yeah.
Like no one's going to hate you. And the beauty about what we do is you're your own CEO and you're your own janitor.
Yeah.
So you run
Literally.
everything in between.
Yep.
So hey, if you need a day off or take your own personal vacation day, go do that because if you're not good for you, you're not going to be good for your clients or anybody else you're helping or
Totally.
your, mentees or whoever. So just it's okay that it gets frustrating at times. Kind of live in that moment and then all right, let's keep it moving.
Yeah, let's be fresh. I
Yeah.
mean, and that it does. It eats at you.
Yeah.
And there's times like when you know that you mess up or you know a difficult thing's coming, but that is so important. Okay, so talk to me. So like from our side with our
Mhm.
luxury buyers on our end, one of the big things that they look for is simplicity,
Mhm.
right? How do you make it simplified from start to finish for them? So talk to me a little bit about that conversation with sellers or buyers, and let's say with those luxury
Yeah.
clients to say the least.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
It's it's pretty simple. It's when I first meet with them or whatever, I'm going to lay out exactly how this is going to look
Yeah.
as far as what I'm doing for what my value add to you is,
Hmm.
and let's lay out from, hey, if I'm listing your home, here are the first 5 things we need to do. Once we do that, great. What are the next 5? What, and then kind of go from there. And you're just transparent and lay it out, and then you also just reassure them, hey, I'm going to be with you every step of the way. Here's what I'm going to do when this happens. Here's what I'm going to do when this happens. If people want to see the home, I will be here for everyone. I'll make sure that I get feedback on everything. It's really taking outside of them making sure the house is kept up. It's
Right.
really taking everything else out of their hands and putting it in mine.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that is if you can take burden off of people now up front, if like you need to do some landscaping, touch ups of the home, some different things here, decluttering, things like that. Okay, there's a little bit of upfront work for them, but after that, let me handle it because
Right.
that's my job. That two, that's my value add. With all the NAR settlement stuff, like your whole job now is what is your value to your clients,
You got to earn it.
and you got to earn it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the beauty of. I felt like I didn't have to change anything I was doing.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, cool. This is a new wrinkle to the whole situation. But as long as you show your value, you show them what your knowledge of the market, you know, your knowledge of just real estate in general, contracts, negotiations,
Mhm.
understanding the inspection report, understanding appraisal, all those things, working with incredible lenders, you know, helping your clients meet the vendors they need to meet that are
Mhm.
trustworthy, that are responsible, that'll get it done.
Yep.
That's a ton of value. And I think sometimes that gets lost because people think we sit back and collect commission checks and kick our feet up and have a good time.
Right.
Wish that was the case. It's just not.
And that's what's important.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that from the sense of agents, I'm sure you maybe experience this. The difference in conversation that I hear is it's like you said, it didn't really change my business versus it changing everything in my
Right.
business, which I hope people figure that
Yeah.
out. And I also hope it weaves the ones that shouldn't be in it out of the
Yeah.
business. The ones that want to stay in are going to stay afloat.
Right.
But like you said, it didn't change the foundation of what you already built
Mm-mm.
this based off of, which isn't a hard thing to do.
It's really not. And if you're at least if you're half decent at what you do, you can explain that to whether it's a buyer or a seller and say these are the list of things I'm going to do for you. And to make it simple, whether it's luxury or it doesn't matter who the buyer or seller is,
Right.
take it off their plate. They're already having to deal with moving and like whatever if they're downsizing, upsizing, they've got kids, they've got their career, this is 8 billionth on their list of things they want to have to deal with.
Right.
If you can take that off of them, they're better for it. They're going to appreciate that. And it shows the value that you provide them. And that's about as easy as it can get.
I mean, it is, and that's the simplified because I mean, a lot of the owner of our company now, he's the number one loan officer in North Carolina,
Yeah.
and every one of his buyers is 800 to 1.4.
Yeah.
It's the same client, and he talks about it over and over and over again. Is all they want is simplicity, right? They don't want the over communication when they ask questions. They either want you to know the answer
Mhm.
or how to locate the answer and tell them accurately what's going
Yeah.
on. And then how do you make that transition smooth from start to finish
Mhm.
easy? They don't want to have 100
Yeah.
phone calls. It's here's what it is, here's what we're doing, and get to the finish line.
Uh,
And that's what I think a lot of the Texas market is starting to move to
Mhm.
because, the price tags have moved up here. I
Yeah.
mean, my parents bought their house in Colleyville in 2007, I think is what it was, for 180 grand. They could sell it for 650
Yeah.
now. It's crazy,
It's wild.
but maybe you feel differently. I don't see it changing.
No.
I don't see, especially the DFW market, I don't see it adjusting.
Home prices will continue to rise. Equity now, it's not going to be like 2022 or 2021
Right.
where we saw this ramp up of 100% x, just like
In
home
months.
value going up
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But we will always see a gradual, and this, don't quote me, that 5 to 10% year over year. You're going to
Yes.
see the equity and the value of homes continue to rise. And you're right, home prices aren't going down. When everybody goes, well, I see Zillow and they did a price reduction. One, that's either was listed too high to begin with.
Right.
So now we have a realtor issue. And then, or two, maybe the realtor did tell you, hey, this is where the market is right now.
Yep.
And I get it. People's homes, like I think mine's worth way more than what it probably is.
Right.
And you at the end of the day, you work for your seller. So
Yep.
or just areas, just pockets of places, they just aren't selling like they were. So there's a lot of different moving parts there. But just because you see price reductions doesn't mean market's reducing.
100%.
And I think when you get to that, now you're talking about an education piece that you need to be providing your clients, sellers and buyers.
Yeah.
And so those buyers are like, well, I'm gonna sit on the fence and wait till they keep dropping. Yeah, you might see some drops, but it doesn't mean that the value of the home is dropping, because I think purchase price and value are two very different things.
We have a lot of appraisals. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen it. Majority of our
Yeah.
appraisers are appraising over the purchase price of the
Exactly.
homes, and that's like I will tell you, I had a client last night, Purple Heart recipient,
Yeah.
vet, great guy, wanting to go under contract and arrange out in Aurora,
Mhm.
and it was listed at 115.
Yeah.
It dropped to 1025, and he's been watching it for 3 months. And I told him, I was like, you need to pull the trigger,
Mhm.
brother. You need to pull the trigger. And he saw it 4 or 5 times. Other life things come into
Sure.
involved too. Last night, another offer came at the same time, and we lost.
Yeah.
And he was like, I cannot believe I nickel and dimed it. I was like, it doesn't mean that you have to offer the 111,
No.
115. It's just, let's figure out what works. And it doesn't hurt to have the conversation. If you put the offer in, and it allows you guys to go in and say, okay, let's negotiate.
Right.
What's a win for the sellers? What's a win for the buyers?
Yeah.
How do we get to the closing table versus I'm going to watch Zillow,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you hear it
I
all the time.
can't
It
stand it.
drives me
I know.
nuts. But
Same.
I think the other thing is too, a lot of people believe that everyone is looking for an affordability
Yep.
aspect right now, and it takes the real estate agent to be experienced and the loan officer side, which we've
Mhm.
talked about over and over again, to actually educate the client. The difference every 10 grand on average, the difference is $80.
Yep. That's right.
It's nothing.
Yep.
And so if you're going to wait from it to go
Mhm.
500 to 480, it doesn't make it that much more
Right.
affordable.
Yep.
And that's the piece where, again, like you said, it's the experience in the conversations that are having
Correct.
with the client, because it's not happening.
Yeah.
And the people are losing.
Yep.
But then there's also the people on the other side right now, rates are at 7%,
Mhm.
and they're crushing it
Yeah.
because they set a game plan, they worked with the right agent,
Mhm.
and they executed.
Yep.
So for you, because I know like you are really big in South Lake.
Mhm.
I know you're moving kind of west, like you
Yeah.
said, the Roanoke Trophy Club,
Right.
Argyle.
Mhm.
Um, have you done a lot in North Dallas too, like Frisco and Colony area?
Yeah, that's kind of where I cut my teeth. That's
Okay,
kind of, that's the market I really knew pretty well. Prosper being the main
it's a lot
one.
of new construction
Yeah,
too,
there's
correct?
new
Yeah.
construction stuff, and then just that's kind of, I knew that Collin County area pretty well, so that's where I was. So even though I'm kind of moving west and South Lake and all that stuff,
Yeah.
I'm still just like any other. I'm learning. I mean, there's days I'll go out and just drive around, just kind of like, okay, this is how I get here. I mean, you're still learning the
Yeah,
roads,
you're
the
trying to learn
cross
aspects
streets, and
of
like,
it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know the major ones, and I've been in like Tiburon enough, and
Right.
obviously, I can go down Davis and get to South Lake Boulevard and just kind of branch off there to Whitechapel, wherever I'm going.
Oh, it's a beautiful
But
area.
then out, as you said, as I come out here more, it's like, okay, now let's start kind of figuring out what Roanoke I've got, but like North Lake, Argyle, and then even going further west, it's like, I got to learn this area. I got to learn the market. I got to do my homework,
Right.
because I enjoy, and it's not just because I necessarily want to live there, but I enjoy the homes. I enjoy the neighborhoods. There's such a strong selling point for these areas
Yes.
that I think is untapped. now it's tapped. There's plenty of really good agents out here,
Right.
but like I feel like there's could be more, and there's something more I can do, or some value I could add to whether it's home buyers or sellers out in this area.
Yeah, and it really is true, and I live here. You know, I
Yeah.
live in North Lake, and so and I see it, and I will say that not like you said, there's some wonderful agents
Hmm.
out here, but I'll say the majority that I experience, you know, we'll work a deal together or
Yeah.
they'll call, and I'm like, I see the greenery
Of
quick,
course.
and you're like, okay, are did you my first question in my mind as I'm not asking the agent this is, did you do your homework?
Yeah.
Right? Did you really fit? Because I mean, some of the homes here are sitting a little longer. I'm like, okay, we listed it like 60 grand above what it
Hmm.
was worth, and your sellers are now they're now upset
Yep.
because you're like, oh, we gotta cut it,
Yep.
you know? And the conversation wasn't like that from the beginning.
Right.
And like you said, you have to do the homework. I mean, Perry Homes, who we built with, they left here and went to Rome.
Yep.
And I was like, we only have 2,000 homes. And now it's, I think we have 4,000
Yeah.
in a matter of a year and a half. But you start to see it and you're like, okay, let's go west.
Yeah.
People are going to Decatur.
Yep.
I mean, it's Weatherford is,
Weatherford's blowing up.
Weatherford and Crowley. Like
Hmm.
we
Yeah.
didn't touch Weatherford or Crowley growing up, I was like, that's kind of the areas, I had some friends there and I was like, well, you come to my house, I'm gonna go to
Right.
yours.
Exactly.
And I we drove through it, looking at houses just casually, and I could not believe it.
Yeah.
Crowley High School is like a college campus.
Oh, I think it was looking. They're one of the best high school football teams in the state right now, too.
It's
Yeah.
nuts. I was like, but for me, that's exciting to see.
Yeah.
But so for your buyers, have you experienced anybody getting out of like the, let's call it the city, and moving more into that aspect at all?
Yeah, I call it getting out of the bubble, which anything
That's
inside
fair.
635 is the bubble. And some of my best friends, when I'm like, oh, why don't you come out and hang out with me? They're like, it's I might as well live in Nevada to them.
Yeah.
So they're like, that is so. I'm like, guys, it's 35 minutes. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's not
But
that bad.
I
Yeah.
do, and a lot of it goes back to pandemic where we figured out, oh, you can work from home and just be still as productive,
Yeah.
and just I think there's more of a little lax on hey, you got to be in the office from 9 to 5 every day and all this stuff. And I think just a value you're living like your quality of life experiences. I think most people don't want to be in the concrete jungle. They want to be,
Totally.
hey, I don't need 4 acres, but maybe a quarter of an acre and a Perry home or American Legend home or wherever out in Roan or Justin
Yeah.
or Hazlitt or anywhere like that. That kind of fits what I'm looking for. School districts, as you the further you get out,
Mhm.
outside of Highland Park and a couple others,
Yeah.
you have some of the best school districts in the state of Texas, if not the country. And I think people are really looking for that life experience and having kind of what you said earlier. You have a community here that you and your family love.
Yes.
Like you have somewhere where you know your neighbors and the community center where you can go to for whatever events going on that weekend. And I think more and more, especially younger families or people in my age bracket that are having kids or just starting to have kids or have toddlers that are going to be, in elementary school, that's what they want. That's what they're looking for.
You're spot on. And a great example of that, it just popped in my head. Plano's shutting down
Yeah.
like 4
Yep.
schools because the older generation, the kids have grown up
Yep.
and they're not leaving,
Right.
and there's not a new generation coming
Yep.
in. And then you see like Northwest ISD,
Hmm.
you see like Argyle's herd maybe splitting into
Yep.
2. You start to see that and they're like, this is blowing up. Like we're behind
Yep.
like by 5
Yep.
schools. Yeah, at least. Where does it set it down the road? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it's interesting to see, like you said, the different
Yep.
pockets of DFW. What my personal opinion, I think DFW is one of the most special places in the country in the sense of what you can get. You get the
Hmm.
community, you can go get land, which is
Yep.
big, but then you have the corporations
Yep.
moving the
Hmm.
right things here,
Correct.
which is the economy is.
Yeah.
I mean, you just drive, like you said, you drive down 114, you got Fidelity,
Yep.
Charles Schwab,
Hmm.
you keep going, Ameritrade. I mean, you have everything because they want to be in the community,
Right.
which, in my opinion, says something.
Well, and the other part about what's great about DFW in general is the diversity of corporations.
Hmm.
So, me being from Houston, yes, we have the best, cancer research and cancer hospitals in the world, but it's really, medical and oil and gas are your main two.
Yeah.
Whereas here, you have oil and gas, you've got medical, you got financial, you've got so many, Toyota, you've got, and
Yeah.
I know, even with Amazon popping up,
I was about to say their
like
airport's right here.
I mean, and then Tesla's going to be creeping around. So I think with the vast like diversity in corporations, that just brings more and more people and more
Yeah.
diversity. and everybody's looking for a little bit something different. So that's just going to continue to expand. And to your point is what's happening in Northlake, Argyle, Crowley, so these areas is the same thing that happened, call it 10, 12 years ago in North Frisco, Prosper, and Salina.
I can't believe that
It's the
area.
same. It's the same thing that, and it might not be to the degree. Salina is going to be the next Plano,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
like it might get to the degree of that. But it's just a copycat thing. It's just different pocket of it.
It is.
But it's gonna. I mean, it's gonna explode, and I want to be here for it.
Like DFW is massive.
Yep.
But when you look at it, it is so small.
Oh yeah.
And especially in the real estate
Yeah.
side, I mean, I hate to say it's like you could do really good by one person, and it's great, and you could do really bad, and then you're already digging yourself a
Correct.
hole, and it could hurt you in the community. It's not to scare anybody. It's just
Yeah.
it's reality.
Yeah.
I think that's
Sure.
other people is like you got to bring reality to.
Yep.
It's not all selling sunset as you mentioned earlier, but that's kind of the aspect where it's like, okay, if we're here, let's invest in the community.
Right.
Let's do this the right way.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're raised the right way. It's you can see what everybody's doing
Yeah.
around you,
Yeah.
and it creates success, and people want to be a part of that.
Right.
Like as a seller or a buyer, I want the best.
Correct.
And if you settle for less, like you see the agents cutting commission.
Mhm.
Like my commission's 1%. Not judging anybody, but I'm like, do you think you're gonna get the same work ethic as somebody
Right.
that is getting the higher end dollar?
Yep.
That's just my personal opinion. Not everybody,
Yeah.
but that's my opinion.
I always tell it's you need to, whatever your client is or whatever your business model is, however you want to set it up. If you're cutting percentage here, make it back somewhere. Or,
Mhm.
if you're getting a sell side, make sure you're getting the buy, or figure out a way to make sure that you're still putting money in your pocket. Because hey, I get it. If I'd rather have 1% than no percent. I get it. If you've got to do
Totally,
that, and you're fighting for every breadcrumb you can, do it. Do what you got to do.
totally.
But at the same time, don't diminish your value. Don't diminish like, hey, this is what I offer. This is why I feel like I'm worth the 2.5, 3%, or whatever it is that
Yeah.
you feel comfortable with. Don't diminish your value, and don't be the guy that or the gal that becomes the fly by night agent that person that you gave a 1.5% discount to now goes and tells 30 of their friends, hey, use this person, they'll only charge you X amount.
Right.
There, you can always
That's a
come
problem.
down.
Yeah.
It is very hard, almost impossible to go back up.
Yes. And that is oh my lord. I do need to go into it. You just hit the nail on the
Yeah.
head. And it's missing. People are missing that. And real estate could change in
Yeah.
10 years. I mean, they're talking about the new administration going to simple interest,
Sure.
have compound. I mean, the entire thing could change. But what doesn't change is how you effectively communicate with
Correct.
the clientele. And you just got to make the adjustments on the fly, which is why you and I love this
Yeah.
industry. And I love being competitive.
And it's gonna I think if you can kind of, I always tell people in sales, it's be a chameleon. So change your colors based on not only who you're working with, but the industry itself. And
Yeah, that's a good point.
you got to stay liquid more or less. So with AI being a big thing, and with just how, whether it's the NAR settlement, whether it's whatever's changing the industry, just kind of ride those ebbs and flows of it.
Yeah.
At the same time, like you just said, nothing's going to take the place of sitting in front of someone and having a conversation.
Yes.
Working People like working with people, and they really like working with people who they like.
Totally.
So I'm
And it
like,
starts from social media.
I,
It's your presence.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm not the best on social media. I don't have 15,000 followers, and
Scare me either.
if I have one really downside of my business is like the consistency on social media. I'll post stuff and I try to do stuff. I need to be better about it, but
It's okay.
it's one thing that I'm not great at.
Yeah.
But what I do like is talking to people and getting in front of people.
Right.
And I'm still I understand AI. I know what it does. I know it helps people write their descriptions for their when they're putting a listing in. And it actually does. There are a lot of CRM systems that are using it to, like, if they're providing leads, how like it works with the leads and stuff, which I think is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm still one of those guys, like, I'm not sold on it taking my job. I just don't think that's the route we're going. Who knows? I could be wrong.
It reminds me of the gas and electric car.
Yeah.
Not to judge anybody who drives
No,
either
no,
one,
yeah.
but it's more the sense of like you have the gas and diesel truck drivers
Right.
that are like, I will never move electric because I got to have this because I could get the distance, I could get this. You know what you're getting
Right.
from it,
Yeah.
right? And then you have the new technology coming
Yeah.
in. You're like, will it get me 200 miles? Will it get me 250? And I think that's where it's very similar. It's like you said, but at the end of the day, you're having the conversation.
Right.
And if you're not having that conversation, maybe that's part of the business that you need to tweak,
Correct.
right? Like I'm behind the phone and computer
Right.
90% of the time. I don't like that. Like
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, let's at least do a Zoom call because I want to see your facial expressions and I
Correct.
want you to see mine. I want you to see that it's genuine.
Yeah.
When we do a pre-approval, we go over your application. Like, are you calling the bank and you're talking to somebody online
Right.
versus, hey, here's the customized plan for you. And that's the same thing as the agent.
Yeah.
Here's my customized plan. Here's my plan's going to be effective for you.
Right.
And why you think you should do it better than somebody else.
Yeah. It's for me. I phone calls are my least favorite thing, just from a standpoint of I want to know what your body language is. I want to see what you're doing on the other side.
Yeah.
I want to see if like you're putting your hand over the thing and just going, he's calling me again. I don't know.
Right.
Like I want to see if you're like I would much rather you go text me, go meet me at this coffee shop at 9 a.m. Let's talk real estate. Perfect. I would now that's not everybody can't do that. So of course I'll do all the phone calls I need to.
That doesn't mean mortgage
Yeah,
lenders.
it doesn't mean like
Lenders don't message
Yeah,
Cody for a 9 a.m. coffee.
Right.
Okay?
It's not that
Or
I'll
insurance.
always pick up the phone, I'll always call, text, whatever, however, any form of communication, that's fine. But I enjoy the sitting down and talking to someone because I can get a feel some energy coming from you, whether, hey, are you really ready to sell? Are you really wanting to buy? What is it? What are your
Right.
goals? What financial position are you in? Maybe now is not a good time to buy or sell. Maybe this is where we're at, and whatever your life choices and your life status is, that's going to get you where you need to go. Do we go, kind of put the pedal to the metal now, or do we wait? Hey, let's give it 6 months. You need to get a few things in order, and then let's start from there. And I think just in person that is so much easier to do. But
I
it is what it
totally
is.
agree. And that's the whole aspect of our business, man. It really is. And if you're not doing it, I encourage you to start now.
Yeah,
Take something from what Cody's done to be successful and drive that business. And yeah, man. Well, I will say this: it's been a pleasure
thanks,
having you
man.
on, man. I feel like I learned things, but it's also this stuff gets me going because it makes you want to make everybody around you better,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
makes me want to get better. It makes you want to
yeah.
do certain things, and like you said, become a Timuron golf member. So I just joke.
Yeah,
So
I got to start playing golf again if I ever want to touch that.
no, I totally get it, man. Well, it's been a pleasure. I will make sure that we drop all of your descriptions.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
What for the last point, view anything for buyers, sellers, agents? What you got? Your word of advice.
There's a couple things for buyers
Okay.
and sellers. If you're sitting on the fence or you don't know, just start having a conversation. Let's talk to your real estate agent. Talk to me. Talk to your
Yeah.
lender. Talk to people that can really educate you on what's going on in the market, what's happening, what you can expect. We can't predict the future, but we can, based on trends and what's going on, just have the conversation. That's better than going, well, I heard this on Fox News or CNN or whatever,
Yep.
and the market's crashing. Don't do that because DFW is very different than what you're seeing in the rest of the country.
Totally.
For agents, this is so cheesy, but I'll tell you, in your business, just takes little steps, stack wins, and then one of my favorite quotes is, "Don't confuse progress with movement."
Ooh, I like that.
So I can run in place all day, not go anywhere. That's movement. Progress, run, take a step forward, start going down the track. That's progress.
I love that, man. That's a great line. Do you care if I steal that?
Oh, take it. It's actually, and I stole it from Denzel Washington.
Okay,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Well, you gotta love Denzel
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah,
no,
don't reinvent the wheel.
no, I love it, man. Well, it's been a pleasure. If you are buying, selling, investing, land, whatever it is, I know a really awesome guy here.
Thanks,
And or if you really just want to hear about his college football success and then he can help you sell a home, you got the guy. So
Appreciate
Cody, brother, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Hunter. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, if you haven't already, hit the like, subscribe, and the follow button on Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube. We will see you next time.